a moron. It has been over a week since I've been able to express my disappointment in you. You have chosen to don a mask which you hoped would inspire, but you've merely revealed your incompetence. You spend hours speaking of a subject you have no knowledge of, so now I will don a mask, and you will come to know this mask as your reckoning. The next time we share camera space, you will come to understand your inferiority and, more importantly, your place. P.S. I'm free this weekend. Let's record the next episode. Yours truly, a more dominant mask.
All right, welcome to the List Podcast, episode 3. I am Chris, and I'm here with Josh, and we are not here with the kid.
Nope, he is gone. I took care of him. I sent him a nice little email, told him how stupid his mask was, and I don't think we'll be seeing him again.
Yeah, I think you might have been a little bit too hard on him. I think he brought some good discussion to the table, but you know what? If he's gonna be scared away that easily, then I'm fine continuing without him too. We got a lot of wrestling matches to watch, and we can't be waiting up for people.
No, he's dragging us back. I mean, it took me shaving my head to prove the point, to scare him away, but I would do it again. It was worth it. I'm just happy. I am happy he's gone.
We'll agree to disagree. I think, I didn't mind him, but I'm okay to continue without him because we got so much stuff to watch. So let's get started. It's been a few weeks since we recorded the last episode. Life's been busy, but a lot of stuff has happened in the wrestling world since then. Notably, Double or Nothing. On the last episode, we made a number of predictions. I think there were some pretty solid predictions, so maybe we can talk about those a little bit. What did you think of the Moxley and Brody Lee match? Because we talked a little bit about that, and we weren't sure how the finish was going to go because we weren't sure. We didn't think that Moxley could lose the title yet, but we also didn't think that Brody Lee could lose clean so soon. So how do you feel about the way they did the finish for that match and the match overall, really?
Yeah, I thought they handled the match really well. I was concerned because I didn't see an opportunity for one of those guys to win and the other one to still look strong and good. I was worried that they kind of botched that over. I was proven wrong. It shows that maybe I'm watching WWE a little too much and I'm getting too used to the way that their booking goes sometimes, and that with wrestling it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Both guys can look strong and you can still have a clean winner without having to do a dirty finish. And I think AEW kind of brought me down back down a couple pegs. Because, I liked the match, and I thought both those guys looked really strong. Brody Lee's still doing his thing. He still looks super strong and still a super big threat, and now he's building his army of the Dark Order. And now I'm even more worried about that, because now he's amassing an army, and he lost the title shot. So what's going to come next? So, my prediction was a little wrong, but I'm okay with that. Learn, move on, and now I know you never know what to expect with AEW, but I was really, really happy with that match, actually. I enjoyed both those guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was in the same boat. I couldn't really come up with like a logical finish in my own head. AEW's booking has been really strong. I think the decision making has been good. You don't often really see a heel get choked out and not give up like that. I feel like during this pay-per-view, there was maybe some things that happened that were a little uncharacteristic. And it's like you said, you kind of maybe are conditioned to expect certain things because of the way WWE does things. But, having someone like Brody Lee be choked out but not give up, and take a lot of damage, including kicking out of a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
That keeps him looking really strong, and it obviously keeps Moxley looking really good too. So I think despite getting a title shot really early, like you said, he's going to be able to rebound and still look really strong. So as someone who was second guessing him getting that title shot when he did, I think they made it work really well, and I'm pretty happy with the way that the pay-per-view went overall.
Yeah.
I think that another match I really enjoyed from Double or Nothing was MJF and Jungle Boy. I don't know if I have like a match of the night that I decided on. But, like, what would you say was yours? I think like I might be leaning towards MJF and Jungle Boy.
You know what? Gonna be honest, it's been a few weeks, so I don't remember the card match for match anymore. As you're mentioning it, I'm remembering things, but I do remember. I'm not gonna pick a favorite right now, just because I know I don't remember a lot of stuff, and I know as things are talked, I might change my mind. But I do want to say MJF is my absolute favorite heel right now, and he might be one of my top favorite wrestlers currently. No.
Oh my God! My God!
How's it going, guys?
Holy shit! Nice mask.
Well, I'm glad one of you think that it's a good mask. Hey, Josh.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good.
Listen, I don't care. My bad.
Glad you could make it.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Listen, I gotta say something. I told you the last podcast that if you push me too far, you wouldn't like who I become. So you write me an email and you trash my mask. And you know what? It wasn't even so much the fact that you trashed my mask. What really upset me was the fact that you shaved your head to fully commit to Bane. And that just threw me over the edge. So now you can call me the Skull Kid, but you can still call me Kid for short.
I like it.
All right, so I'll fill everyone in case you're not aware. So I sent an email to the Kid, and I did this, and I put on a Bane mask, and I put on a tack vest, and told him what I really thought about his his character and his wrestling and his fucking Batman mask. And I figured that would be enough to have him wash his hands of wasting my time and wasting Chris's time. But obviously he's dedicated and bored and has decided to show up anyways. Man, I'm not going to engage with you. I don't want to trade insults. I tried. My head's shaved now. I'll have to live with it. And you're still here. So let's just move on.
So does that mean you're leaving?
I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere, because then you'd have to edit the video and it would never get put out.
Well, let's put it this way. You'll want to by the time I'm done with you.
All right. Anyways, we were talking about Double or Nothing.
Yes. We can find some common ground here, and that is AEW. It has been quite fucking good over this quarantine era of wrestling. Really, like with no other sports on, I'm glad that I have at least something to look forward to with wrestling, AEW in particular. So we talked a little bit about Moxley and Brody Lee, how about that match kept both guys looking strong, and how it kind of caused us to rethink our second guessing of putting Brody Lee into the title that quick. I think they were able to put in a scenario and that kept both guys looking strong. But then we kind of transitioned. And I was saying my match of the night for Double or Nothing was MJF and Jungle Boy. What did you think about that match Skull Kid, to start. I want to hear from you.
That match was actually pretty wicked. It was a lot more like there was a lot of good transitions with it. It was totally back and forth, and I bought into the match. Like I thought MJF was gonna like, I don't know, like because he's a heel, you just kind of think you're so used to the dirty finish, right? But I mean, like the finish was actually incredible. Like it was a legit like pin maneuver, and he got the legit win. So like kudos, absolutely. But yeah, that match blew my expectations out of the water for sure.
I will say it's nice also seeing like a heel get a clean finish, a clean victory. Too often it's just like, well, heels can only win if they're dirty. It's, well, no, sometimes they're shitty. They're assholes, but they can wrestle really well. And I like that they're going with that angle with MJF, that they don't need him to be dirty all the time to still be a heel. And they're showcasing that, hey, and sometimes techniques like roll-ups or simple submissions can still win a match. And that was lost a long time ago. And I hope they continue to bring it back. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's one thing me and Gilbert can agree on is that
Gilbert
is that you got to give a heel actually something to brag about, and that was a legit victory. So when he brags about that, it's legit. So like he's got heat with Jungle Boy because he got a TNT title opportunity before him, right? So like, and he's totally right. Like he actually beat Jungle Boy. He's better than Jungle Boy by the win standard. So he should have got the match, right? So it's awesome. The AEW is doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's cool when the heels like completely justified, because like when they're not wrong, they're just being an asshole about it.
Absolutely.
The MJF.
Unfortunately, though, they already have a really annoying masked commentator. So, kid, you're still out of luck.
Hey, keep it up, buddy. You can look like Hogan.
Yeah, you're our Excalibur now. But yeah, MJF Jungle Boy was my match of the night because, like what you guys said, we were talking about with Brody Lee. He looked strong despite being a heel. He kicked out of finishers. He didn't tap out. And then Jungle Boy or MJF, that match was the same thing. Like MJF winning basically clean, other than maybe grabbing the trunks. That's basically clean anyway, right? Yeah. So him like establishing MJF as a legit wrestler in kayfabe, but also, I was completely confident in MJF as a heel character, but I didn't know of his wrestling background, and I thought I had a preconceived notion that he might be average in the ring for some reason in my head, but no, he's very good. That was like a classic kind of face heel style match. And it was fantastic, some good mat wrestling. I was looking forward to that match a lot, but it still exceeded my expectations.
That's one of the things I didn't love about, or like what made me fall out of love with WWE was that like guys were just pure gimmicks, and like they were winning because of their gimmicks, right? So sometimes the wrestling was it was in the background from the gimmick. You know what I'm saying? Like people just winning by doing something stupid, or because they have some sidekick or whatever. Like MJF may have his sidekick, but he definitely earned that win, and yeah, it's really good to see that.
Yeah, Wardlow wasn't interfering in that situation at all, really. He was just hanging around.
Like he's got that trope, but he didn't need it, which is awesome.
Yeah, agreed. And also there was there was a few solid matches at Double or Nothing. Another one I really enjoyed was the women's title match with Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
That I was as invested in that match as any in the night, honestly. And I don't know, there was just really good action. I never felt slow at any point, and the way they did that match, like I was just all behind like Shida at the end, like just completely behind her. So as someone who has kind of said that AEW has a long way to go in terms of their women's division, and I think like WWE is actually like far ahead of them in that regard. this is kind of like starting to change my opinion a little bit. If they're gonna, give them matches like this where, they made me care, and I think from what I've seen from Hikaru Shida, she's really good, but I wasn't like personally invested in her until that match.
Yeah.
And it just grew as it went on. So I'd love to hear what you guys thought about that one because, honestly, now that I think about it, maybe Todd was my match of the night with MJF and Jungle Boy. Those were both really fucking good. What say you, Josh?
Well, Nyla Rose, what can I say? Like, I've been pretty hard on her for the long time. I still kind of feel the same. I feel that she's extremely good on the mic. I think her charisma is really good. I think her in-ring ability still needs a little bit of work. I thought that match was really good, but I did feel like Hikaru carried a lot of it. I do feel like she was a little more into the match, carried a lot of it, but I do think overall the match was really well done. And I'd love to watch it again. And who knows? Maybe I'm being overly hard on Nyla. Maybe she did her equal part, or maybe she carried the match. But that's not how I saw it. So I'd still like to see a little more development from Nyla before she's pushed again for another title run. But hey, no, it was going really good. I'm sorry, I just Head's not really in the game right now. I just don't see. He can't just change a mask and come back and all of a sudden be cool.
Does the Skull Kid returning? Or making his debut, rather, in this new mask.
It's still the same moron who was wearing the Batman mask.
But I think it has you at least a little bit, Chuck. Anyway, we can...
No, what
He's scared. He's scared. That's what the issue is. And he's just lucky that he's quite a few provinces over. Because if he wasn't, he'd be getting a drop kick right in that chrome dome of his.
I got it. Make fun of the bald guy.
As long as we have the common ground of wrestling, I love the banter, and I think this will be a good trio to move forward with for the podcast.
I'll think of another email. He'll be gone. Hey, what do you guys think of the? What about the Stampede match?
Okay, yes. So it's like
forgot about the Stampede match.
Yeah, it's like when I say my match of the night, it's because like the Stampede wasn't really a wrestling match, but it was like the most entertaining. I was laughing for like an hour straight. However long the match was, I was laughing.
That was pure entertainment. You're right, though. That wasn't a traditional wrestling match.
It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, it was amazing.
What do you skull ass?
Well, you changed the topic. I didn't even get to talk about Sheeta and you inconsiderate bastard. The Stampede match was amazing. Everything about it was awesome. Like pure, just fun. It was just fun overall.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was Hangman in the bar and having the classic bar fight. Like that was sick.
Dude, he was trotting. He was on a horse that was trotting.
Yeah.
No, the best part is he knew you could tell the minute he came in on that horse. He knew what the fuck he was doing. This man owns a horse for sure.
Yeah.
Like he came out walking on one, I think at All In or one of the early pay-per-views, but at this one he was just straight up like, yeah, that horse was going fast. I was like, this is amazing.
Full trot. That was sick. And the finish was incredible. That one-winged angel off that.
Yeah. That was awesome. But yeah, that's what, like, as much as I love, like, technical wrestling and stuff, like, that's, in a way, what wrestling's all about. Just, like, really funny stuff, like, nostalgic references, like, to the old Matt Hardy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, Hangman in the bar, Hangman on the horse. Like, it was just, like, everything, like, the football references, like, Jericho challenging the play and being like, you're a shitty ref.
You're a shitty ref.
I told you guys when we watched it, I was a little disappointed that the Elite didn't wear their own uniforms, like Inner Circle with the football jerseys and the football costumes. Like I thought that was amazing, and I thought that the Elite would come out with something similar, but they didn't. And I don't know. I guess in hindsight, like I'm glad that was an inner Circle thing. Like that just shows how tight they are. Like they got a team costume. Like, but anyway.
Yeah, I like that too. And yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, it reminded me of like the Longest Yard, like the Mean Machine jerseys almost that the Inner Circle had. I really like that too. Yeah, they're a cool stable. I'm glad, like, I think Jericho's just doing a great job. Like, he clearly handpicked these guys, in and out of kayfabe. I think he picked guys he wanted to have on his team. Um, when he first picked Sammy Guevara, like, he was probably the one guy in the group I was like, I don't really know about this guy. He seems okay, but now he's one of my favorites in AEW. I love Sammy.
Sammy's amazing. Him singing Jericho's theme gets funnier every single time. And now my favorite part of the show is watching Jericho try not to laugh as he's walking to the ring. And Sammy's out there on like a one-legged wheelchair with crutches, like trying to sing the song poorly. It's awesome.
Yeah. So good. And he's a damn good wrestler too.
Yeah, he is. Oh, it's great. And I mean, do you guys think that this is all like basically, like, for so long, the WWE has had essentially a monopoly on pro wrestling. I mean, there's been other things, TNA and things that show up, but really they haven't been able to compete. But WWE has also had an image of what they want the wrestlers to look like: big, strong, bodybuilder type wrestlers. Or they've had a few cruiserweights, but like Rey Mysterio and things like that shine out. But generally, they seem to always want to push the big guy, like Ricochet, for example. We can all agree here, I think, that Ricochet is an outstanding wrestler, and probably deserves a huge push for the top title. But WWE won't do it because he's not big enough. He's not the guy. He's not Roman Reigns. He's not Brock Lesnar. He's not John Cena. So, however, do you guys see AEW is doing the opposite? They all their wrestlers, very few of the wrestlers are that big, and even the ones that are big by WWE standards aren't that big. I mean, you look at Brody Lee, he's huge, he's massive, but I mean, you stand him next to Braun Strowman, and he's really not. So, but I think AEW is showcasing, if you just care about wrestling and you get the guys who wrestle the best, who cares what size they are, look at the show they can put on. Do you think that that's why, we're all so into AEW right now and we're enjoying every minute of it? Do you think that directly is a result of, them casting wrestlers first and looks second? Or do you think it just so happens that they happen to be picking these awesome indie guys and it's a coincidence?
I think it's a loaded question. I think it's
damn right.
Part of it is they have a lot of wrestlers that have built a big fan base and a lot of their character in other promotions like Ring of Honor and New Japan, like the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes since he left WWE, Hangman Page. Those were all, New Japan guys. Santana and Ortiz, Brian Cage, they're TNA guys. A lot of Ring of Honor guys are with AEW now too, people who have experience there. So I think the success of AEW has been at the expense of Ring of Honor quite a bit, unfortunately. A lot of guys who put in time there are now shining in AEW, I feel. And New Japan definitely lost some guys too. So I think it's definitely part of it has been the fact that they've been able to get guys that are extremely good wrestlers, but they have developed characters too. I think it's not only wrestlers. Not only wrestling. Guys like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, they've had established history and characters with Ring of Honor, New Japan, and the fans who are, the hardcore fans at least, who are a lot of AEW fans are, they know that history, or at least some of it. So
that's fair. Yeah, I didn't really think of it like that either.
So there's a lot of factors to it, but I think that's one of them. The fact that they really do have a lot of talent from TNA, Ring of Honor, and New Japan that they were able to really get kickstarted with. But then they've got guys like Jungle Boy, MJF, Darby Allin, and Scorpio Sky, and they're creating new stars too. And that's in part thanks to Jericho, getting those guys over by having matches with them and having guys like Sammy and his stable. Jericho's putting in work to create new stars in wrestling, and I love to see that.
I completely agree with everything, and that's, like I said already, I think the fact that wrestling is at the forefront, like you said, Josh, and the look, and then the character comes, but like the wrestling is front and center, and the quality of the matches that they put on, that's something that's brought me back, and that's what New Japan caught my attention with, right? Like they got characters and stuff as well, but their ring work is incredible. I'm ready.
Yeah. For all the listeners watching, if you're wondering where our thumbnail dogs came from, they're not random. They're not random dogs we pick up. That is Marley. She's the face of the show.
Oh yeah, she's
my
on the.
partner.
She's
Technically
on the.
belongs to Chris, but she's engaged to me. And the ugly, electrified rat-looking dog is mine, but you'll never see him. He's terrifying.
Oh yes, I forgot that they were both on the podcast logo. That's amazing. And we're probably going to take a cut here because she definitely needs to pee. So
I have to pee too.
Yeah. All right, so the last match I wanted to talk about from Double or Nothing before we move on was the ladder match, the one that Brian Cage won, and kind of get your thoughts on him challenging Mox for the title. So I know you guys probably don't know him too well, but he was the big TNA champ not too long ago, like maybe within the last couple of years. So it's not surprising that they're booking him strong, but it really, caught me off guard that he's challenging Mox for the title right away. So, Kid, I wanted to get your thoughts first on that whole situation.
Yeah. So when we watched Double or Nothing, I came into the ladder match late there, so I missed his debut. So I just saw this really big Jack guy in the ring, and then he ended up winning. But I don't know. I think this is the one time where there just hasn't been enough build-up. And, I mean, they still got a few more weeks till Fyter Fest. Like, the first event's, July 1st?
Yes.
So, they still got some time. But, I mean, I haven't really bought into it too much. He's just some Jack dude that Taz is with all of a sudden. And,
yeah,
I just don't know anything about him. And I hope that Moxley retains, because Moxley's been kicking ass, and I love what they've been doing with him. And it would just, it wouldn't make sense for him to, what would Moxley do if he lost to him? It doesn't make sense right now. So I can't see it happening.
No, I agree with you. I think that would be a shame if Moxley lost the title, and I definitely do not think it would happen. I'm 99% sure it won't happen. But you're right. I mean, it's almost like, he's a good guy to have, but it's almost like AEW's getting too stacked now. I don't even know if I want to say that, but
yeah.
They, maybe a few months ago we were saying they were missing some big guys, but then they got Lance Archer, and then they got Brody Lee, and now they got Brian Cage. So they got three really good big guys, but it's just it's almost like there's only so many title shots to go around, and the last two for Moxley's have been, guys that have arrived pretty recently in AEW. So for a company that originally was going to be we're going to actually have rankings and win-losses are going to matter, it's not really mattering right now for title shots. I understand that, they had the ladder match. The whole point of that was to get a future title shot. And I also understand that maybe they don't want to blow the big feuds right now that they have planned when there's no crowds. But yeah, it's kind of weird when they're putting Brody Lee and Brian Cage right into the title picture.
Yeah.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, what do you think, lukewarm Steve Houston?
Your evil and your hurt and your meanness knows absolutely no bounds. Fuck. What the hell were we talking about? Brian Cage, I'm enjoying him and his wrestling. I think he's really good. I didn't know him at all before AEW, before his debut. I soured on him right away because of the way that they debuted him. I think I feel the same as you guys. I don't like it when guys are immediately pushed as unstoppable. I think it would work, or it did work back in the day, and I think it could still work once in a while. The problem being is they do it all the time. Big guys are always coming in and immediately they're being pushed as these huge things, and eventually either they become the champ for 18 years or it fizzles out, they die, and then they go into obscurity and we never hear from them again. But like, yeah, so I don't have an issue with Brian Cage, and I think he's a good wrestler, and I really want to see more of him, but I'm not okay with the way he came out with an immediate push. I do not like the way he's being pushed. I think what would have been nicer is if he was introduced to the company without Taz. Maybe he, shows a lot of potential, but has a couple of losses under his belt right away. Then bring Taz in with the promise to mentor him and make him better, bring him to his full potential, and then start running him as this unbeatable monster. But at least by then, we've seen him lose a couple times. We've grown to know him. We can form opinions based on his character and based on his wrestling, not based on the push that's being thrown down our throats. And I'm worried that AEW is starting to do things that WWE is doing, which most of the universe hates. So I'd hate to see them start to go down that road. I think Brian could be pushed better than he's being pushed, but I don't think he's I think he's a really good wrestler. And I want to see more of him, just not the way that they seem to be going with it. But that's really all I have. I thought he did okay in the match. The way he squashed guys was pretty believable. It was pretty cool. The spots were cool. I liked when he put the guys under the sign and then fucking crushed them there. So the spots were all good. The match was really fun. I really enjoyed the match. I thought the match was really well done. I just didn't enjoy the finish at all. But other than that, nothing. I have nothing to take away from that match.
No, that's completely fair, I think. And it makes me wonder, like, that's why I was wondering, like, is he signed long-term? Because it's kind of unlike AEW to have such a short-term push like that without a long-term story. So it makes me wonder, like, did they sign him for like a short-term contract just to have a quick feud with Moxley? Because if he signed long-term, like you said, it would be way better decision to have something like you just said, where he's built up a little bit and then, Taz gives him a boost rather than coming right out of the gate and getting a title shot as soon as he debuts. But like with all things AEW, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they've earned it and they've proven me wrong several times already. So I'm excited for Fyter Fest, and I think it's awesome that they're giving it away for free on TV.
Yeah.
So it'll be over 2 weeks. I think we're all going to be looking forward to that. It's cool that between the big pay-per-views, they're going to do kind of these special Dynamite episodes that have almost a pay-per-view feel like they did with Bash at the Beach. And, they're making the most of the no crowd situation right now. Speaking of which, New Japan is going to start up again with no crowds for now for this tournament, but then they're going to be at 1/4 capacity for the next big show, which I think will be Dominion. So this is big news. It's there's a big tournament, and the New Japan Cup has been announced. It was announced earlier this year, but they announced a new bracket, and I don't know how to express my excitement enough. What do you think, kid?
Oh, dude, like I'm so pumped for it. I've said it. I've told you guys, like, the only thing that I am disappointed about is Ospreay not being in it, especially with his move up to heavyweight, because I think that would have been a great tourney for him to win, to really solidify him. But I get why he can't be there. Obviously, we're still dealing with the COVID stuff. But nonetheless, like, I mean, I'm just so excited for New Japan Wrestling. Like, the quality of it is so damn good. And I'm going to be keeping up with the whole, like, I'm totally in on New Japan. I'm going to try to watch every match of that cup. Like, absolutely.
Ooh, that's a bold proclamation. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yep.
Or at least hold you to something close to that.
It's a lot of matches.
Like, I mean, I know they're doing like four a night. So I mean, yeah, I'll try to at least watch half of them. Like, I mean, I know I just said I'll try to watch every match, so I will try to do that. But minimum half.
Backing out already. Wow.
I want to hold you to trying to watch 3/4 of them, because I mean, you probably have 4 per day in the beginning, so you'd have to put in a little work then. But then it would be 2 per day after that, 1 per day after that. So I think you can do it.
Yeah, I think so. As long as they're, accessible.
Yeah, for sure. And you know how it is. It'll be on at like 4 in the morning, and then we'll just review it the next day and try to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
But
is there a match that you're looking forward to most out of that bracket?
when I look at the first round, I see Ibushi and Sabre Jr. That's what stands out to me for the first round, easily the most one I'm looking most forward to. I think they had a match in the G1, didn't they? They were in the same.
Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, for sure.
And it was quite good. There were so many good matches in that G1. They kind of blend together a bit, but they had a really good match. Their styles are a little bit different, but they're two amazing wrestlers. I know they'll do well together in a match, and I expect Ibushi to go over. And in terms of the first round, that's definitely the one that stands out the most to me. How do you feel about Sabre Jr. and Ibushi?
Like that matchup, I would have liked to see that maybe later on. I think like that was probably their thinking too. They were probably expecting that we were all expecting for them to meet up in later rounds. So that's why they wanted to put the match with those two together right away. So then it's clear that, you got a front runner right away around who's going to win the tourney. But I agree. I hope Ibushi goes all the way, because I think it would be a great start to the redemption story around him losing at Wrestle Kingdom. And then you never know, Kenny had a similar path, right? Kenny he fought Okada 3 times, and he didn't win until the 3rd time. The first time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he lost, and then the second time they went to a draw.
This would have to be we'll watch these all through eventually together, and it wasn't till the 3rd time that he beat him. Yeah, you got the first time he lost, and then you have the second, or you have the draw, and then you have a random G1 match, not for the title.
Right.
Omega wins, and then the ultimate Omega win at the end. So four matches total, but one was a G1, so it isn't part of the trilogy necessarily, but we got to watch them all in order.
Yeah, I feel like Ibushi's gotta win that one, and hopefully Naito's the champion right now. He's Intercontinental and IWGP.
Yeah, he's been the double champ since Wrestle Kingdom, and they haven't been able to have too many shows since then.
Yeah. So maybe he beats Naito, but then the story becomes he's got to beat Okada.
Yeah, I mean, the winner of this tournament is getting a shot at the main title. So I think when they say that, it's getting a shot at both titles, which I don't know if I'm a big fan of, but anyway. Yeah. Looking at the tournament, Okada's in the tournament on the other side, so not on the same side as Ibushi. So when I look at potential matchups in the semifinals or the quarterfinals, you could potentially get Okada versus Ishii. So I know, Josh, we watched Moxley Ishii in episode 0 after Bret Hart Owen Hart match. And so Ishii has had a good match with Okada before. He's in there. Hiromu Takahashi. So we watched him with Ospreay. He could have a good match with Ishii or Okada later in the tournament. And then in terms of Ibushi, you could get Evil and Sonata. They're both really good from what I've seen. So there's potential good matchups later. Probably Tanahashi. I imagine he makes it far in the tournament. So we'll see what he brings.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm just super happy that New Japan Pro Wrestling is happening again. And there'll even be shows with some crowds before too long.
Remember, Sonata beat Okada in the G1 last summer.
Yeah.
So Sonata could come out of nowhere there too and potentially win. Because if you don't beat Okada, to not have that play a factor later on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and Sonata's amazing. And so is Evil. Evil's good in his own right too. They're all great. That's why I'm going to watch every single match.
The roster's stacked. It'll be extremely entertaining. So we'll loop you in on this too, Josh, and this will be your first big taste of Lots of New Japan matches at once, like we had for the G1 last year.
We'll throw you some scraps. So
I'll do my best, but I am not committing to every match right out of the gate like this jackass. He's already set himself up for failure. So I'll watch what you guys watch when we can watch it.
Well,
and you know what? I'm already calling it. The guy who wins is the first guy to pull DVDs out of his fucking shorts and use that as a ploy to win the match. That's the guy who's winning this whole thing.
Yano.
Yano, yeah. Yano's winning this whole thing.
Awesome. That's the best.
Prediction.
Best prediction I've heard all
I called Otis. I'm calling Yano.
I believe you, man. I have faith. All right, so let's start the list segment, and then we'll get into tonight's match. How does that sound to you guys?
I'm down.
sounds great.
Quick shout out to Io Shirai, NXT Women's Champion, at In Your House. I love her very much. She's a really good wrestler, and I thought that the match was really good. So I just want to mention that really quick.
Hold on, I have an email here. She would like you to stop showing up at her house and get her name out your mouth.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, I'll take back my shout out in that case.
She emailed him to tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, she emailed me. She's like, hey, get your boy under control. She was like, I was going to email Batman, but I can't figure out what the fuck him and Robert are hanging out at these days.
I'll get you guys watching at least an NXT match or two here and there at some point on this podcast.
No, I've never heard of her. I'd love to see her. So
Yeah.
I bet you would. I bet you would.
So for tonight's list segment, I want you guys to give me your top 3 finishing maneuvers.
Oh, God.
And I want Josh to start us off.
All right. I think I know my number 1, but I need just a second for the other ones.
if you say Diamond Cutter, I'm gonna fucking leave this podcast right now.
All right, you know what? I got 2, and then.
I mean, I wouldn't hate on the Diamond Cutter. Think of all the reversals into that you can do.
Yeah, that's kind of like
that has been done.
Fair enough, but
I wasn't thinking about it. I'm not gonna say the Diamond Cutter, but I am gonna use the Cutter as my third, just because of what you just said. The amount of reversals and the amount of different people who are using it in different ways. We got Randy Orton, we got Johnny Ace, we got Dallas Page. Like a lot of people use the Cutter, and it can be hit from so many positions. And I do believe the best finisher is one you can hit from anywhere. And the Cutter is one of those. So for that reason, I will give it my 3rd spot. You jerk ass. Second, I'm going to go with the Sharpshooter just because of the, it was a finisher back in the day. Now a lot of people just do it. But when Bret Hart put that fucking thing on, it looked painful. So I'm going to say number 2, Bret Hart's Sharpshooter. Specifically Bret Hart's, because a lot of people do it now. And I just don't think it has the same. Like when The Rock did it, it was cool, but it never looked quite as painful as when Bret Hart did it.
No,
when Bret Hart put on the Sharpshooter, it looked like back was about to break. And my number 1, I'm going with the Tombstone Piledriver. I don't know if it's true now, but for a long time, nobody kicked out of it. If the Tombstone was hit, the match was over. So in that sense, in my mind, the Tombstone today still, besides maybe like Scott Hall's Razor's Edge, it's one of the most protected finishers. And if it happens, along with the Last Ride, generally the match is over. So in that sense, it's to the truest form of the term finisher. It means the match is finished. So I'm going with the Tombstone. Again, Scott Hall did something similar. He did the Razor's Edge, but he was different in the sense that if he wasn't going to win a match, he just wouldn't use the move. So he protected it, but the industry did not protect it. Whereas with Taker, I think his respect and the industry his respect for the man, I think, protected his own move for him. So for that reason, and the fact that like the Razor's Edge, you have the Celtic Cross, you have all these other people who are doing it as well, and it's not as strong. But the Tombstone, you got Undertaker, you got Kane. Those are the only guys who are allowed to do it, really. Some other people try to pull it off, and then they end Stone Cold Steve Austin's mat wrestling career. But the Tombstone, I got to go with that as number 1 for me.
Good choices. What about you, Skull Kid?
It's tough. So in no particular order. So one won't be the best. But Sweet Chin Music, one of them. Although super kicks are like overdone now. But I mean, when Sean would hit it at the last possible second, and like all I gotta say is Shelton Benjamin, Shawn Michaels, like that shit was unbelievable. I watched that shit live on TV and I freaked the fuck out. Crazy. So yeah, Sweet Chin Music. I'm gonna say Swanton Bomb because it just was awesome. Like Jeff would hit some really, really cool ones, and the fact that like his best ones were when he'd linger like full vertical, like he would come out and his head is just like just perfectly and then crashes down. Like yeah, and he hits some off like some ladders and shit. Like that's a lot of courage to do that. So yeah, so Sweet Chin Music, Swanton Bomb. I could easily say Spear because I'm an edge mark. And then
just Spear wasn't that good.
No, it's not.
It was not.
No, and Goldberg,
I love
Goldberg
Edge.
was probably the best one because he actually destroyed people. He actually attacked Goldberg's.
Yeah, but that's because he legitimately tackled people to death.
That's what I'm saying. He actually tackled them. Man, I'm gonna say the Stunner just because of how awesome Stone Cold is, and you know that's what you come to see, right? Stone Cold drink beers and stun people. So there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't really say mine without I can't really put into words more better than. See, I'm already mumbling. I mostly just agree with what you guys said, and you guys gave the best possible reasons for me. Yeah, it was Sweet Chin Music, and like Matt said, as much as the super kick is overdone today, it just had a different feel when Shawn Michaels did it. The Stunner, not even necessarily when it was pulled out in matches, just in segments, just how he do it to like everybody, how when he did it to Vince it was such a big deal, just how iconic it was. He's done it to Donald Trump, who's the president right now. So like just the fact that, you know, when he's coming in raising hell, he's drinking beer and stunning people, like Matt said. And I had Tombstone on my list too, so I know I'm repeating you guys, but the Tombstone, like you said, Josh, it's a very defining finisher. It almost always finishes matches, but it does when it doesn't. It was just enough. Like when Shawn Michaels kicked out of it at WrestleMania, and Undertaker has that like look on his face. Like that is amazing to me, because when they've had people kick out of the Tombstone, it's meant so much. So they've been so good with that. So that's why. Not only, you know, in terms of the people it's finished, but in terms of the small list of people that have kicked out of it. So yeah, I can't really word it any better than you guys did. I know I was just repeating what you guys said for yours, but you had great picks. So what can I say?
Any honorable mentions?
I have one actually because we did touch on it, and I still want to like fucking. Part of me still wants to throw it in there. The jackhammer, like. Goldberg is Goldberg, and the thing is, you know, love him or hate him, whatever. Nobody kicks out of the jackhammer. So, like, if I'm gonna give the Tombstone the top spot, then I have to at least mention the jackhammer because, in the same sense, that move was protected as well. The only difference, like, I think the jackhammer looks cooler, but I just think the thought of the Tombstone is way more devastating. Being dropped directly on your head as opposed to essentially a really cool suplex. So yeah, my only honorable mention is Goldberg's a jackhammer.
Honorable mentions. As a kid, I loved 619, you know, but now it's like, you know, I don't know if it's one of my all-time favorites, but it was like when I was like watching the Score or SmackDown, like there's a point in my life I didn't even watch Raw. I just watched SmackDown. Rey Mysterio was the champ, and I loved the 619. If we're talking other than WWE, like, I don't know, the One Winged Angel is pretty fucking sweet. That's a pretty awesome finisher, especially when you like consider certain matches in New Japan that we'll get to where he's busted it out in certain situations. It looks really good. I mean, like, I know you mentioned the cutter, Josh, but like just RKO in general, I think is kind of like transcends the cutter a bit, just because Orton has reversed so many things into it now, and like he does it so quickly, and he's like does it. He has a lot of finesse when he does it. He kicks his legs. As much as DDP definitely gets more credibility for starting it, Randy Orton definitely does it with a bit more flashiness.
Well, DDP didn't even actually start it. Johnny Ace did.
Yeah, not starting it, but popularizing it to the next level.
Yeah, so DDP started the whole hitting it out of anywhere, and then Randy Orton took that and rolled with it. Like Randy Orton made that his own thing, but DDP didn't invent the cutter. All he did was invent the whole like hit it out of absolutely anywhere, and then Randy Orton was like, "Yeah, but can you do it while jumping?"
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, DDP started this. DDP started that. DDP. I love DDP.
Do you wear a mask because your face is like that ugly, or do you just enjoy BDSM and you're just pulling shit out of your closet?
That's a good one. So my honorable mention, Chris, you said RKO. I was going to say RKO, but that's okay because I fucking love Moxley's what paradigm shift, is that what it's called? But like not the quick DDT one, the one where he actually lifts him up and then like brain busters him. Like
the avalanche, not an avalanche, but like the elevated paradigm shift.
Yeah, that is awesome. So good. Like
the way that's a really good way to like be able to finish. Like he can, if he's fighting someone who's a little bit below his level, he can finish him with a straight one, but he has the ability to bust that out when needed. Yeah. So I do like him, having the ability to bust out like a super finisher.
Yeah. Like it's awesome. It's up there too.
Yeah, good calls. Nice list, guys. I think that allows us. I think that allows us to move into our next segment, which is watching a match for tonight.
Yes.
We're going to watch The Undertaker versus Kane. The Undertaker's been all over the place recently with his Last Ride docu-series, which is really, really good.
Go watch it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, after being quiet for so long and barely giving any interviews, just hearing The Undertaker talk to this extent, and he's doing some, media podcast interviews and stuff. Maybe we'll get him on. It's just been crazy to see how talkative he's been lately and see another side of him in this show. So we decided let's break out an Undertaker match. We're going to do Undertaker versus Kane in the first ever Inferno match. And this was from Judgment Day, Unforgiven. So this is The Undertaker versus Kane, but it's not their first match. But it is the first Inferno match. And I don't know how to express what this match really means in terms of like WWF history, but it represents, two of the best homegrown superstars that never switched sides during the Monday Night Wars for WWF. Just the fact it speaks to the Undertaker character so much that there's a whole other character in WWE history that is so amazing that his whole purpose and history is tied to the Undertaker. Like Kane, his how amazing he is, he only exists because of the Undertaker, and he's so amazing in his own right. So that speaks to just how crazy Undertaker's impact is.
It's crazy to think that like Glenn Jacobs, the man, is, like you just said, an outstanding wrestler. Like, he is an amazing wrestler, and many wrestlers hold him as the safest guy to work with, and the strongest guy to work with. We may not even know who the fuck that guy is if he didn't have the Kane persona, and if it weren't for the Undertaker, that persona never would have happened. Could you imagine us sitting here right now, 20 some odd years later, talking about what was it, the dentist Jacob, whatever the fuck?
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't know who the hell he was.
Isaac Yankem.
That's it. Isaac Yankem, the dentist. He never would have taken off if it weren't for his persona of Kane. But the reality is the man is an amazing wrestler.
Yeah, and thus we got several classic matches between the two. So I'm very excited to get this one started. You guys ready? All right, here we go with the first ever Inferno match between Kane, and the Undertaker. Kane, the Undertaker.
I like that the Undertaker is starting the match by trying to intimidate the fire. He's just staring at it, Kane barely aware that he's in a ring.
Damn, Kane's mask, though, is...
I know. It's a shame that he couldn't fucking breathe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's huge, too, dude. Holy fuck.
Oh, he's
I know.
jacked.
You think that, like, right now he's standing next to a dude who's already 6'10".
He's jacked. That dude's a mare.
I know. The thing, like, when you look at, like, old Kane, like, when you look at Kane, like, more recently, it's like, oh, he's a little flabby and whatever, but when you look at old Kane, man, he'd make Brock Lesnar look fucking small.
Dude, he's shredded.
Yeah, it's actually insane. This was 1998, so, you know, Kane would have had his debut in Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood 97. They would have had their WrestleMania match, and then this is their next encounter after that in your house.
And this is, so this is when Paul Bearer was also in Kane's corner, or is he back with Undertaker at this point? I didn't notice.
Let's
Kane.
let's keep an eye out. You barely see that old school with the...
You'll know if he has bleached fucking hair, he's with Kane. If he's carrying an urn, he's with the Undertaker. Watch, he'll have bleached hair and carrying an urn, and I'll be all fucked up.
Well, Paul Bearer just gave Kane the chair, so...
Yeah, so...
Question there.
Definitely on Undertaker's side.
I definitely just noticed YouTube kind of edit out a chair hit, though. So
Yeah, okay. It wasn't just me. I thought my videos skipped.
They probably do that on the network too, but maybe, I don't know.
No, they definitely won't do it on the network. They keep Chris Benoit matches in. They're not going to edit out a chair shot.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who?
But yeah, forgot about that about YouTube matches. It's good for the convenience, but yeah, you don't get it uncut, I guess. Oh yeah, he's pretty.
Like, WWE Network is still keeps in the more violent matches and everything, so I can't see them like when I'm watching all the old Raws, all those chair shots are still in, so I can't see them editing this one out.
Yeah, I mean, the last episode was Edge versus Mick Foley, so I guess that answers our question.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, Kane sat right up.
Oh, Kane did the setup. Yeah.
That's it. He's gonna die.
Well, someone's out of the ring for the first time.
Kane has to fix his mask a lot.
Paul Bearer is gonna kill Gerald Briscoe, and I don't know why. Kane's done, and Undertaker's like, "Hey, there's fire. I can't get out."
Yeah, how'd you get out? Well, you threw
I
me
think
out.
he just rolled through it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Kane was born in brimstone and fire. He didn't give a shit.
Oh, Vader?
Vader, yeah, I guess so. Oh yeah, I remember Vader and Kane had like a pretty long feud. Which is weird because Vader's a piece of shit.
You know Vader's in Boy Meets World?
Yeah, that episode was legendary when they had to go back and forth between Topanga's Sweet 16 and
Yeah.
and the wrestling match.
Yeah, he was in quite a bit.
Undertaker does an amazing dive to the outside, and we're talking about Vader on Boy Meets World. But both were awesome.
That's why the people listen.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening. What'd you say?
Oh, that's normal, though.
Did you see the dive at least?
I did see the dive. Damn it! I was looking at the television.
Oh, Paul Bearer, what are you doing?
Asshole.
Paul Bear's running is like. That's him going as fast as he can too. That's the sad part.
Undertaker's going about twice as fast as he does in his entrance, just like walking normal speed after him.
He's walking like a normal human and he's gaining ground. He actually had to stop to tear apart that drums just to let Paul Bearer get ahead a little bit.
Shit, is Kane on fire? Kane's arms.
Yeah, he loses because he's on fire.
I've never seen this match.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, that was just, I knew at least that was the stipulation, like somebody had to be caught on fire. But I haven't seen this match either. It was all right. It was pretty good.
It
Yeah.
was good. I think the ending sequence was solid. I think like it started a little slow. Like I think it like it's 1998. First Inferno match. I think the gimmick was pretty cool.
This was a pure gimmick match, and the thing is, like, both wrestlers were very hesitant about doing it, so that probably made them not want to do any big spots and things like that.
Yeah, it seemed like they played it safe, but I mean, there were some good hard hitting moves. These are like Kane's in his physical prime. He's jacked, so there were some good sequences, and I think that the ending was solid. But certainly not from a wrestling standpoint an amazing match or anything. But just in terms of the characters that are represented here and their impact, it's extremely iconic. I'll give it that.
Damn, that's cool. The purple light and him doing his pose with the fire going crazy.
Yeah. No, I think the match itself was definitely very it was revolutionary, but yeah, in the sense of like what we think of like an exciting wrestling match, it was definitely not that, but it was the beginning of like what would come to be gimmick matches, which was really cool. And I mean, it was something that we hadn't seen before. But yeah, I mean, they were being super safe, so it was not as exciting as I remember it being, but definitely still revolutionary and very technical and fun.
Absolutely. Two longtime WWF guys, and this was just one part in their long history. We could have picked a few Kane Undertaker matches. They've had a WrestleMania match, so I'm sure we'll explore some of their other interactions in the future.
I was gonna say, I'm sure with those two guys and their long and storied history in the company, we're definitely gonna end up running across them again.
We'll see them again.
Their WrestleMania 20 match was awesome.
Yeah, so we'll get there at some point for sure. And in terms of these two guys, just not only the fact that Undertaker spawned Kane the character, but really spawned a lot of these types of matches like the Inferno and the Buried Alive match, and now we got the Boneyard match, which is basically a Buried Alive match too. But just the fact that the Undertaker and Kane kind of inspired all this lore that WWE has and all these new types of matches, their impact can't really be understated. They're just absolute legends, and you can't really, it's like asking a rapper, like you won't find a rapper that isn't influenced by Biggie. You probably wouldn't find like many wrestlers that aren't influenced by Undertaker to an extent, especially in terms of people who are like character kind of wrestlers.
Do you guys feel any pride or like feel special at all in the fact that like the three of us were so lucky in the sense that we got to see this shit when it was new? Like, we don't remember some of it, sure, but we were there. Like, we were watching when the Undertaker and Kane were in their prime, right through, like, we were very young when Undertaker started, but we were there as he grew the whole time. And then kids today will never get to see that. They're going to have to go back in time and watch matches like we are now, but we remember the feel, how scary it was when the Undertaker's music dropped. Like, I remember for a long time, man, my dad still gives me shit because I used to be terrified of The Undertaker and Paul Bearer. That voice that Paul Bearer had on the mic and just the demeanor of The Undertaker. I remember what it felt like to be a kid when that music dropped and just like sitting at your TV kind of covering your eyes, but you wanted to see what happened and you wanted to see if the guy could beat him. Do we even have characters like that today that draw that kind of emotion from people when they watch?
No, I don't think so. Well, I wouldn't know, honestly, like if WWE pulls that off, because I don't.
They certainly. Well, I mean, like they have good characters now. Like I like Drew McIntyre. There's Braun Strowman. They have good characters, but they're characters that aren't that far removed from reality. Whereas back here, you look at the Undertaker. That's not reality. Right. He's a demon who summons fucking lightning. Like, but he was so good at it, and he was so awesome, and we got to live through that. And I guess. No, WWE doesn't do it like that anymore. They don't. They can't. They've gone too close to straddling the line of reality. I mean, they have their stars with Twitter feeds, and half the time you can't tell if a tweet's kayfabe or not, because they straddle that line of kayfabe and not kayfabe so closely that they almost can't do characters like this anymore because they're so unbelievable. But back then, Back then, everything was kayfabe. You can make any character you want, as long as the guy who was the character owned it and believed it, we would believe it too. But they've gone too far from that, so I just don't think they can do that anymore. But I think kids are missing out, man. That was awesome.
Well, they've definitely put the emphasis on athleticism. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey, they are your staples. Like that's UFC, right? Like that's the pinnacle of athleticism.
Yep.
So you're going to buy in more so to what a person can do physically more so now than you would a character. And that's unfortunate because, that's what makes wrestling so fun. And once again,
it's weird because all the characters now are like you're mentioning are being based off of reality. Like, yeah, you're right. The two guys who went over, the UFC fighters, because guess what? They can fight in real life, but that shouldn't matter. This is no different than watching Scrubs or House or another show. They can do whatever they want, and why they choose to pretend or act like they're trying to make wrestling a real thing, you don't need to. We already have the UFC. If I want to watch people actually fight, I'll watch the UFC. I want to watch this entertainment. I want to watch the storylines. I want to watch things like The Undertaker and Kane where they have these awesome characters that are out there and not real at all. And if you choose to believe it to be real, fine. But like that's the entertainment part of it. And like Brock Lesnar's great, fine. Ronda Rousey's great, fine. But we don't need grounded characters throughout the whole thing.
Right. And when they've kind of like backed themselves into a corner because like it doesn't become believable that, some like Seth Rollins beating Brock Lesnar, like what? Like that's not.
No,
that wouldn't.
No, exactly. But if you suspend disbelief and you're okay with reality being whatever WWE chooses it to be, screw the WWE universe. In my opinion, screw it. We're not supposed to be part of the show. The fans are there. We're not part of the show. The days when the actors or the wrestlers would come out and they would look at the fans, but they wouldn't address the fans. The fans were there, but we're not the show. And now WWE has moved towards this, making the WWE universe part of the show. And I think that's a detriment to what they had.
Yeah, I think you guys all make really good points across the board. I think with guys like this, I will say this. The first time I watched wrestling, I was drawn to Kane and The Undertaker right away as a kid. Those were the first wrestlers I noticed. Just like when the TV was on at my cousin's place and I was just there and I watched a match, Kane and The Undertaker is who I was drawn to. Because it's like you're saying, wrestling isn't, necessarily, it's athletic. It's not a sport. It's like a comic book or like a movie or something. Or,
it's stuntmen who are also the stars.
Right? Yeah, so like having these characters we're just immediately drawn to. Though that's exactly what hooked me into wrestling as a kid for the first time. So you guys said it well. We're kind of in the reality era now, and that all these wrestlers have Twitter for the most part, and we're very much in the behind the scenes kind of thing of everything. The wrestlers know that the fans are in on it, so sometimes they're breaking the fourth wall and stuff. So I do miss the character era too, and I miss having kind of some outlandish gimmicks. I do think AEW is doing a pretty good job of mixing the characters and gimmicks in with the legit wrestling, even though wrestling's clearly at the forefront. I think they have at least a little bit of room, just the fact that like Orange Cassidy can exist and do what he does. I think that leaves them a little bit more open to at least gimmicky stuff, even if their gimmicks aren't as supernatural and stuff. So I think they do in certain circumstances allow you to suspend your belief in terms of who can beat who, in terms of someone like Orange Cassidy or something like that. But there is still missing across the board in wrestling that element of like superhero, supernatural, magical, Undertaker and Kane like characters.
Yeah, and that's not to say they need to go a whole hog back into Fantasyland, but like why? So, for example, I'm going to go back to House because I like that show, but I watch House, right? I can also log on to Twitter and see, Hugh Laurie tweet something, and I don't need to connect the two. Like, he doesn't need to be House in that moment. He can just be Hugh Laurie. I don't give a fuck. I know when I watch House, that's what I'm watching for. I don't need to see him pretending to still be Dr. House on Twitter. Let the wrestlers have their own Twitter. Don't make that. Why are you making your Twitter handles for the wrestlers on the show? Fuck that. Let the wrestlers have their Twitter. Let them be actors and let them, break kayfabe outside of wrestling and just draw a line. When you're on the show, you're in character. When you're not on the show, you are not in character. And do not pretend to be in character on your Twitter handle anymore. You're in character on the show. That's where you can make your announcements. We give you promo time. That's where you do everything. We have ads. We run commercials. That's when you're in character. Your Twitter feed or the WWE Universe bullshit Facebook group, you don't need to be there. You're not working 24/7. Why would you want to wrestle your ass off in dark matches and in televised matches, get hurt, take bumps, and then you got to go home and tweet shit too? Fuck that. Get off. The Undertaker made his living because he stayed the fuck away from social media. He got so famous to today, to the point where everyone is buying his documentary because it is so rare that the man lets us into his personal life. And now it's selling like crazy. Maybe the other wrestlers could do that too if you didn't put their personal lives right out of the gate involved with wrestling. You don't need to. Don't mix the two. It's silly. I will kiss your tongue.
Episode 3's rant of the day from Josh, brought to you by Twitter Beefs.
Twitter Beefs.
And also my tongue.
Don't be half kayfabe and half out of kayfabe. Go all in or all out, like AEW does.
Play your character and go home and shut up.
Before we move into our throw out a match for the next episode discussion, do you guys have any final thoughts on the Kane and Undertaker match or history or anything around that?
No, I pretty much said, I think, everything that I needed to say about that one.
Cool.
Yeah, Josh took too long, so there's not enough time for me to say anything. So
we're about to get booted off the network. Our pay-per-view time's running out.
Yeah, we only paid for 4 hours. We're gonna get.
It's okay, kid. Whatever you say, we'll just play Monday on Raw.
Undertaker and Kane, Venom and Carnage. I always kind of thought of them like that for some reason.
That's a good way of looking at it. That's pretty good. Yeah.
So how about now we throw out a few matches? Well, we'll do our usual one match each for the next episode and see. We don't necessarily have to stick to it, but I think this formula worked before. We'll randomize an episode that each of us throws out today, and maybe we'll do it for episode 4. So the match I'm going to put on the table is the NXT North American Championship ladder match. The very first one for the first North American title. It's like prime NXT with like Ricochet, Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream. It's really awesome. And I know you guys will like it a lot. It's a bit of a spot fest, but I figured I'd throw it out there. I want to show you guys it at some point. Maybe this isn't the time if it doesn't get chosen, but figured I'd throw it in the pile.
Sounds good to me.
What do you guys think? You got any matches in mind?
So I have an idea, and I can't say the wrestlers because I don't know who is in it. I've actually never watched the match, and maybe you guys didn't either. But I'm thinking maybe what if we watch the first ever X Division match? I don't know what it is. I'll find out what it is. But I think it'd be cool to in the nature of we watched the first Inferno match. We haven't done much with TNA. X Division was big when it first started. I know Chris and Kid, we were all kind of talking earlier about AJ Styles and Samoa Joe back then and how good, and Christopher Daniels and all that stuff. I've never seen the first X Division match, so
yeah.
What if we watch that?
We could definitely look into that, or the first X Division Championship match, or I'm not even sure how they started it. So let's look into that and figure something.
Idea.
Okay, I'm definitely down for that because there's some to be uncovered with TNA. I think we've drunkenly watched that like amazing triple threat match between the few of them, and I probably watched that 2 or 3 times, but like that is just like so entertaining. So
TNA's been so up and down throughout the years that we can definitely find some gold in there.
yeah, so now we have the benefit of only looking back on it and only picking the rather than, you know, Tito Ortiz debuting and the crowd not giving a fuck.
Hey, you guys want to watch Hogan go over?
Yeah.
What about Macho Man return? That can't go wrong.
Yeah, I forgot about that. TNA Macho Man. All right, kid. Throw out a match into our trio.
Well, I got to say, and I don't want this to go to his big bald head, but I do appreciate the TNA shout out because I didn't catch a lot of TNA. So, you know, I would be totally open to watching some whatever TNA, the best of TNA, if you will. But I think for my match that I'd like to put forward, I mentioned earlier for the New Japan Cup, you know, I'm pretty sad that Ospreay can't be a part of it. So I got to throw out an Ospreay match, and I'm more so thinking about Cue Ball over there because he hasn't seen a lot of Ospreay. So I'm wanting to put forth one of the Ospreay and Ricochet matches because I know he knows who Ricochet is, but those matches were, I mean, I know they take some flack because they're mainly like acrobatic. But nonetheless, I thought they were great matches once they finally got into the wrestling component of it. So anyway, one of the many Ospreay Ricochet matches. That's what I'm putting forward.
Cool. So we'll pick out a specific one if we'll randomize it, and if it gets picked, we'll pick one of them, whether it's like Battle of the Super Juniors or pay-per-view or whatever. That's a good choice too. So
I just want to point out that he shit on, he pointed me out for being bald, and then he immediately suggested we watch Ricochet, who is in fact also bald.
No, he had some hair at that point. So.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He had a shorter haircut, so.
Although if we watch the NXT match, he'll be bald in that. So if you like him there, then you might have some explaining to do. But I like it. We have a TNA, a New Japan, and an NXT match. So we're kind of staying away from the main roster of WWE for this next one at least. So that'll be interesting to do. Yeah, cool. So for episode 3, that's it. I'm Chris. This is the kid,
and I'm full of regret.
And we're signing off, and we will see you again very soon.
Baby.